Welcome to A Closer Look. I'm Crystal Carter. Today, we're diving into a fascinating topic. It goes beyond food, fitness, and vitamins. We're talking about your body's energy. You've probably heard the phrase, good vibes only, but what if there's real science behind that idea? My guest, Dr. Swathi Varanasi Diaz, known as Dr. Swathi, is an integrative pharmacist and leading expert in personalized medicine. Welcome today, Dr. Swathi.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, we've all said that someone has good energy, but you say there's actually science behind saying that.
Yeah, absolutely. So vibes are just everyday language for energy frequencies. So everything, whether that's you, me, your phone, even your morning coffee, all of those things emit measurable vibrations. So science can capture these, vibrations and quote unquote vibes with tools like spectroscopy.
So how does our body produce an energy field?
So everyone produces an energy field simply by, existing, and ways that you can kind of tell, is my energy on? Is my energy off? Like, how is my energy feeling? Is if you're feeling drained, no matter how much you rest, if you're getting sick more often, or if you're noticing mood swings that you can't explain.
Now, every person that I know has said, I'm just having an off day. Tell us about getting things off balance just in our everyday life and how that affects us.
Yeah, so there's so many ways that we can throw off our energy or feel out of sync. One of them is just having ongoing stress. Another one is having a lack of sleep or not sleeping well. Another one is too much screen time, which we all know all too well with, our phones and TVs and all the screens in our lives. And another one is staying indoors too long. And another one could also be surrounding yourself with negative people.
And what are some signs or sensations that we feel within our body that kind of says, hey, things are not going right?
I think that people can just feel, something is not quite right with me. And I think a lot of it goes back to some of those aspects that I mentioned, where if you just feel like you have so much stress, you're not getting sunlight, and, you're spending too much time looking at your screens, I think people start feeling, whether or not we're aware of it, we start feeling like there's something a little bit off.
And now we use technology for almost everything. Is this something that technology can tell us is wrong with us, or is this something that we're just going to feel?
So for now, it's something that I think we feel, but I do think there are so many amazing advances. There's actually an emerging field called Quantum Ayurveda. And so traditional Ayurveda, as you may or may not know, focuses on herbs, diet, and lifestyle to balance the body. But Quantum Ayurveda takes that foundation and adds a modern twist by measuring energy frequencies of plants and then matching them to our body's own energetic patterns. So while it's not necessarily technology, there are certainly advances. And one of the leaders in the space is Greenspace Herbs, and they're actually the company that put a name to this Quantum Ayurveda, and they're pioneering research to make it more widely accessible.
And some people are doing the supplements, they're eating right, they're getting their steps in, doing everything, and still it just doesn't feel quite right. How do they connect back into their wellness and their energy, even while they're still trying to do it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you can influence your energy field with a lot of simple habits that cost nothing. One of them is movement. So that could be regular stretching at home, doing a little bit of yoga, or even starting with just taking a walk around the block to release pent-up energy. Another one is breathing or meditation. So just thinking about taking a moment. This moment could be when you're stopped at a red light, where you take a deep breath. It could also be, before you're checking out at the grocery store. Just taking a few of those moments to slow your breathing can really help reset your nervous system. And the final one is getting some sunlight exposure. So there is so much research showing that the sunlight and UV and vitamin D can actually recharge our body's natural rhythms.
And I am a big proponent of the herbs and supplements to kind of help us better with our health. Can you tell us a little bit about how they help us align our energy?
Yeah, definitely. So if you think of, let's say, ashwagandha for stress, so that is quintessentially one of the Ayurvedic herbs that's used in traditional Ayurveda. But if we think about quantum Ayurveda at Greenspace Herbs, they start by matching the natural frequency patterns of both the human body and the herb, and then they tune the herb so that the frequency matches the body's stress pattern. So therefore, something like ashwagandha that would otherwise be used for stress can actually function more efficiently and work faster so that it helps to lower oxidative stress, or another way of saying that is just chronic inflammation.
And there are so many supplements that you can buy now. It seems like you get there and then you get overwhelmed. Are there certain ones that we need for our energy and just our stability that we should be taking continuously?
Yeah, that's another great question. So I would say, I'm an integrative pharmacist. I very much believed in a personalized approach. So I don't think that there are any supplements in particular that every single person needs to take. I do think that some of the strategies I mentioned earlier that are free, like movement, breathing, and sunlight exposure, are really incredible to start thinking about putting your body back into tune and, starting to keep up to date with some of the research and everything coming out with this frequency first health, like in following Greenspace Herbs. I think that's a great way to not only tune into what you can do, but keep up to date with what you can do in the future.
And for somebody like me who walks into their job and the daylight they see are the studio lights instead of sunlight, what are some things that we can do to do energy resets throughout the day?
Yeah, throughout the day. So even between meetings or between taping sessions for you, if there's a way that you can go out and just get a few moments of vitamin D with the sunlight, or even between takes, if there's a way also to slow your breathing and help to reset your nervous system. There's so many of these simple ways that we can integrate into our daily lives, and it doesn't need to be something complicated.
So, in reading about it, one of the things that I found fascinating was it said the supplements could be energy tuned. What does that mean, and how close are we to seeing this in our everyday products?
Yes, absolutely. So there are quite a few companies that are innovating in this space, like Greenspace Herbs. And so they are looking at, herbs themselves have frequencies and our bodies have frequencies. So how can we actually match those two frequencies? And in acoustic labs, you can actually tune the herb so that the frequency of the herb matches the frequency of our body. And so while this doesn't currently exist on the market, I do think that this is something really exciting because it will help supplements, particularly Ayurvedic supplements or herbal supplements, work more efficiently so that as we're taking them, they're actually working with our body.
And can you tell us just a brief, a couple ones of them that are good for people, some symptoms that go with these supplements so that people who truly have no idea, they think, I do have some stress, but I didn't know that that's what ashwagandha was for. Are there basic ones that you can tell us that would go with a person that maybe didn't get enough sunlight or had too much stress or had something else that they wanted to take a supplement for?
Definitely. So I mentioned ashwagandha briefly. That's great for stress management. It even has research to demonstrate its use in sleep. Turmeric, that you probably have already heard of just from using it as a spice. It's also known for its anti-inflammatory impacts and antioxidant impacts. So there are so many potential use cases there because you can incorporate it into your diet, but also take the supplement depending on what you're looking for. There's also triphala. Triphala has had a lot of research to show that it is significant in digestive health and even detoxification. Those are just a few. There's also shilajit that has risen to popularity for its use case in hormonal health. So a lot of different potential uses. And that's the beauty of herbs, is that when you're utilizing herbs, there is so much research behind them and there are so many potential use cases. And once we incorporate this energy first or frequency first wellness, there's just really an untapped potential.
And of course, this is not something new. This is something that's been going on around the world for centuries. But why are we just getting back into herbal medicine and remedies and supplements here?
I think part of it, honestly, is because, a lot of people have gone to the conventional medicines, the pharmaceutical options. And for some people, they're not working as effectively as they would like. And so I think people are starting to explore other options that are evidence-based, that, as you mentioned, have been used for decades and centuries. And so now that there is more discussion around it, it provides more options for patients to figure out what exactly could be the best fit for them in their particular context.
And if someone has seen or heard us today and they thought, this is something I definitely need to start looking into, where are some places that they can go to find out more information about it?
Yeah, I would suggest greenspaceherbs.com. There's a wealth of information there about herbs, about Ayurveda, and also Quantum Ayurveda.
And is there a place on there where they can both read about if it's right for them or maybe get matched up with which one is best for them?
So that is something that they are working on. And so I would just follow the newsletter, and there's so much great information on the blog. They're building out their social media platform. So there's so much more to learn there.
How do you think this is going to help for preventative health?
So preventative health is key because we want to be able to catch things before they progress. And so if we think about prevention, so many of the strategies that I was talking about earlier today, so whether that is incorporating movement, sunlight, deep breathing, those are things we can do day in, day out that will help in an effort to bolster preventative health. In addition, there are so many, herbs and things we can incorporate too. I really think that preventative health and this personalized approach with incorporating energy really is going to be the next frontier.
And finally, what is one thing that you hope people take away from this conversation today about protecting their energies and their energy health?
I hope people take away that it is so much simpler than we think. You don't need some fancy meditation setup and pillow and incense and ambiance and all of those things. Just start with taking a walk around the block, a few, moments of deep breathing. Think about what you can do on your day to day that can really help retune or help you just feel better and feel like less off. And then the other thing is, if you want to follow along and learn more about how energy is going to play such a bigger role in preventative and therapeutic health, definitely follow Greenspace Herbs at greenspaceherbs.com.
Dr. Swathi, thank you so much for joining us today. We've had an eye-opening conversation about energies.
Thank you so much.
I'm Crystal Carter, and this has been A Closer Look.